Testing, testing. Okay, there it goes. Wow. Fuck StreamYards. Fuck StreamYards. Fuck StreamYards. Let me start back over. Let's go back. So I'm gonna answer. All right. So because you probably couldn't hear me because StreamYards switched the sound to a device I'm not even using right now. It's my cat earphones that are not even plugged in, even though I have them default set on the condenser, which is stupid. But anyway, to re-answer your question on what are my thoughts about Ben Affleck, doesn't want to direct. I can understand why. I do truly believe that's how he feels right now. That could change in the future, but once again, every time somebody tells you to move on from the previous regime and all the stuff that happened with Zack Snyder, you realize that this is a consequence of that bad management. Had the universe been properly managed, had his we're going to lose out on an Academy Award winning filmmaker being able to make a high level movie that he directed and wrote. And as much as anybody wants to praise the Batman, which I enjoyed, a Ben Affleck movie makes even at the very least that much, if not more. If you look at the trajectory of the Man of Steel, which is 678 million, Batman versus Superman, which is 878 million, and had Justice League not been meddled with and publicly meddled with to the point where everybody knew how bad it was, that movie probably continues at that trajectory and puts you into the same type of money that Wonder Woman made, that Aquaman made. So at the very least, you're talking about the same amount of money as the Batman did, what with less damage done to your universe. But that goes back to 2013. The poor decision making, the poor hire in Walter Hamada, who is not a bad person as far as I know, but was not the person for that job. He did a lot of damage. Ishihara did a lot of damage. Emmerich did a lot of damage. Sarnoff did a lot of damage. So even though we're supposed to be moving on, every day you're reminded of just how bad those guys were. And when you hear people try to defend them and tell you how great that they, what a great job they did, they can go fuck off. You have the evidence now to completely understand just how bad the management was at Warner Brothers from 2013 to up till now. And to be honest with you, some of the lesser decisions that have been made even since the new regime has come on is still lingering over from what the previous guys did. So, all right. Yes, I did like Shazam 2. I reviewed it yesterday. I hope it makes a little bit more money. Who knows? I did what I could to promote it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was slightly better than the first one in different ways, but I enjoyed it. Like I said, Jeebus, there's a lot of people who didn't make it out of their 20s. Old is a relative way of speaking. Happy St. Patty's Day. Mute button. Nah, it wasn't the mute button. Something is wrong with StreamYard. I don't know what they do. I don't know whether it's just me or whatever, but I know that other people who use it are having issues. It goes back to these default settings. I have everything set up, and for like the first 6 or 7 months I was streaming, I didn't have to change anything. I logged in, did my thing, scrolled down, everything was set. And now when I log in, random things have been reset. Like my layout has been reset. The sound is going to a default instrument that I don't even have hooked up to the computer. That's why you couldn't hear me. It had it hooked up to the Kraken earphones that I'm not even using it. So it went to that default mic instead of this one. This is the only mic hooked up to this computer. And it's doing it at the store too. So I know it's not my computer and I know it's not me. It's doing it at when I stream from the center as well. I've had the same issue. So yeah, as soon as I get smart enough to use these other platforms, I'm going to, because StreamYards is making me kind of ill. How you doing, Spider-Man? You're muted, Boomer. I wasn't muted, jackass. Fuck you. And a Boomer is my dad, not me. Oh, no muted, not muted. Yes, got the no sound. Can't hear you, no sound. He's dropping bombshells. No. Also, hey, I'll be sure to smash the like button. MCU and DCU are both trash. Amazonas Boys is top tier. I like the Boys. It's a little bit over the top. All right, so I hope you guys should still be. All right, can you guys should be able to hear me now because I am on my proper. The mic is now on there. Yeah, the driver is still loaded on here, but the cat ears are still not hooked up. All right, so let me see. You guys should be hearing me now. According to this, you are hearing me. Testing. Yep. It says now microphone condenser. I've deleted the cat ears off of the drivers right now. So all right. I basically did start the stream over, so all right. So let's see. Hold up. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it's working now. Yeah, no, I didn't hit the mute button. You know what? When I first started streaming, guys, I did do that because I didn't want to have background sound from the air conditioner constantly coming through the sound unless I was talking and I'd be on streams. But this is something different. I think there's been updates or something to StreamYards. I know one of the functions that when we're running the streams at the store, we're able to integrate our shared screen a lot easier than we are, or not. You know, we were able to do it like you push one button. What I wanted you guys to see was automatically on. Now you have to go through 3 different steps, and then there's like a third or fourth steps. And I'll be talking, thinking you guys are seeing what I'm looking at. And fortunately, at the store, I had the screen up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm not showing you anything. That wasn't the case before. I don't know what StreamYards is doing, what they've changed, but I know I'm not the only one having an issue with it. But like I said, um, I don't even have the microphone default that it was hooked up to, so who knows? All right, so let's see where are we at. So now we know we got the sound. We know the sound is working. So yeah, I enjoyed Shazam. I enjoyed Shazam. Let me skip up past all the mute cockpits. All right, William flexing on dead babies. What the hell? William, yeah, Affleck was not going direct gun saying this was just empty words in a breakup. Do not expect Kingdom Come or Cavill to return. Neither one of us are in that room, dude. I don't know. What Affleck does and what Cavill does is not necessarily the you know, each individual's got to make their own decisions. But the problem with all this is that not only do you have these things happening, you have too long before these movies hit the screen. So, and as much as I like that James Gunn is interacting with the fans, I'd say there's certain things that, we don't need to know right now as far as like, I wouldn't even be discussing Cavill or Affleck unless you have plans for them. All right. Or, I wouldn't even if you have talked to them, because Ben Affleck can come out and say, you know what, I did talk to him, but he could have made that decision on the fly. Then, you know what, since I've talked to him, I've decided I don't want to do it anymore. And it looks bad. We went through so many years of poor management and poor communications. Now we have it all, swinging the other way. To be honest with you, I would just like to see him take over, like do a YouTube channel or do something every Wednesday and just basically put out the relevant information and then follow up and debunk scoops and things like that are false. But as far as interacting and answering every single question that a fan has, I don't think that's necessary. I don't think I don't think there's any way for him to look good doing that, because fans ask stupid ass questions sometimes, and fans ask trap questions sometimes. So him coming out and saying yes or no every Wednesday, you put out what you want to put out. And if you're consistently putting out that information on a good rhythm, you won't have to go back and forth, to answer, random questions as fans. They'll have that answer. You will have done your job every Wednesday by debunking that stuff. And then every week, people can hear this bullshit coming out that may or may not be true, but they know that you're coming on Wednesday to debunk it or reinforce it one way or another. But like I said, I wouldn't be honest with you. I don't read anything into anything these days. I don't give a fuck who says what, where, and when. I don't care if somebody comes out in a magazine and says, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to do this. And like I said, I could tell you right now that I'm never going to live in, Oklahoma. Right? There's nothing for me in Oklahoma. I've been there with the Army, nothing to do. I could say right now, never going to live in Oklahoma. Don't want to live in, and then I'm just pulling Oklahoma out of my ass. But Never going to live in Oklahoma. Don't like tornadoes. Don't like any of that stuff. Don't like the Midwest. Don't like it snows there, whatever. Been there once, didn't like it. I'm never going to Oklahoma. I'm never going to live there. Never going to spend significant time there, right? I could say that. And right now, I would mean that, right? If I get a call tomorrow morning and somebody says, William, I'm going to give you a place out here to run your business rent free. I'm going to give you a house rent free, and I'm going to give you $2 million in capital to be able to run an online version of your business aside with everything else. And I'm going to give you a salary of about 200 grand. Guess what? I'm fucking going. Why? Because the situation changed. So what I say now about not going to Oklahoma, nothing against Oklahoma, what I say now about not living in a particular place would change with that situation. I'm not going to turn down that cash. I'm not turning down that opportunity, and I'm not turning down them. That opportunity is not existent right now. So right now, what I say is the truth. But if the situation were to flip, you know what? Oklahoma is going to start looking real good. So all these stars and directors, whatever they say, do not be a fool and take this to gospel. Things change. Situations change, and words are only as meaningful as the situation that spawned them. So while he says this today, and Cavill says this today, and Gunn says this today, it's meaningless. It's worthless. Do not listen to people's words. Watch the situations, and then listen to the words. I still don't know what the dead baby thing is. It continues to be astonishing not only how damaging the JL reshoots were to JL and DC brand, but how much the damage is still lingering and will probably continue. Yeah, it was bad. It wasn't just the JL reshoots. It was the meddling in BVS. It was the not having a plan. If you had the balls to get up and say, I don't like what you're doing, Zack Snyder, then you should have had the brains to go with it and say, but I got this instead. And you didn't. All right. You listen to fanboys and shithead critics and the Marvel jersey people. You let them dictate where your product was going. And then when they dictated you off of a cliff, you had nowhere to go. You were like Wile E. Coyote when he runs out there and the Roadrunner can run over to the other cliff. Where here's Wile E. Coyote with the anvil going straight down. You had no business uprooting what Snyder or anybody else was doing without having a plan in place. All right. If you had something better that was going to blow everybody away, then you should have had it ready to go when you decided that you were going to uproot everything, because you didn't. And look, what we got in the subsequent 5 years is what we're paying for now. Once again, James Gunn is in his position because of that. You know, James Gunn is in his position, and now here we are adding on a 2-year wait on top of everything else, on top of all the upheaval and the lack of a payoff that we got. So yeah, it wasn't just a Justice League reshoot. It was the fact that, okay, you started me out with Superman and you ended me out with Polka Dot Man. That's a problem. All right, you started me out with Batman and I end up with Black Adam and Shazam. So I have an IP that the entire world knows, replaced by IPs that nobody knows. So, and now here we are, you know, like I said, and the damage is going to come out. It's going to come out and it's going to be worse. But and the person who's going to be, you know, most hurt by this damage, other than the actual fan base, is going to be James Gunn. You know, because like it or not, no one has to give the next guy the benefit of the doubt. They're the customer. They can do whatever the hell they want to. All right. Especially when you have 2 years to wait. That's a lot of time to fill in. So hopefully these remaining movies, now we have 3, now that Shazam is out, hopefully these remaining movies do something to give him some kind of momentum in the right way. Not just him momentum, but give the fans momentum. Because one thing I say, and this is why I say people who say, well, it doesn't have to be a shared universe. Go see it because of great. Listen, get the fuck out of here with that, all right? All right, momentum is everything. I don't care what your business is, whether it's a lemonade stand, whether it's making movies, whether it's selling comic books, it doesn't matter. Momentum is everything. And when you are selling a series of movies, when you're selling a comic book movie, unlike any other movie. So when the comparisons to Godfather and all that other stuff, those are bullshit. When you are selling a story, and by nature of comic books in general, are connected, even though it took them decades and decades to actually get to the point where they made connected movies, that's because they didn't have the apparatus of the wherewithal. Had they been able to make these connected movies back in the 70s, they would have done it. They couldn't. They did it as soon as they could. So you're telling a story by nature of what it is a connected story built on momentum. And right now, you haven't had any momentum for about 5 years. And now you add another 2 years on top of that with not very much momentum, depending on what they do with these movies. So momentum is everything. It gives you the benefit of the doubt. It propels you into the next product. It keeps your audience engaged. So yeah, and it's when you look at the Batman and the Joker, great. They made good money. I'll see you in 3 years from when they were released. That's not sustainable. That's not a good business model. So yeah, the damage continues, and it's probably going to continue depending on what type of decisions that they make from this point going forward. This could change if we go see The Flash, if we go see Aquaman, and these movies do well. These movies could change everything. So that's why I say don't give up yet. Not just on continuing Snyder or anything else, but actually getting a cohesive universe that can actually be sustainable. Because to be honest with you, I haven't spoken to anybody in my circles that's okay with starting over again. It's deflating. It's like I said, running that mile, and then the guy at the end wasn't even the guy who was at the beginning, the start. Some different guys at the end telling you those miles you ran meant nothing. And by the way, would you mind running another 2 miles? It's exhausting, and it's just too easy to just not engage, to move on to something else. So he stepped into the pressure cooker, so I hope he's up for it. Cat ears also have a mic addition to Captain Auto. Yeah, but I'm unplugged, so I hope that's the deal there. So Cox's Tailboy out here been giving me BS. Cox has been giving me BS for like 2 years. So and it's not getting better with those guys. Do you think CB? No, I don't think comic book movie fatigue is on the horizon. I think if they're not putting out good movies, be honest with you, without the Infinity Saga to hide it, because Marvel had a lot of dumb movies involved in the Infinity Saga, but they made a lot of money because the Infinity Saga was the overarching, overwhelming thing that got them the benefit of the doubt and got them the momentum. Once you took away the Infinity Saga, you realize that some of these movies, a good half of them, are just mediocre movies that don't meet the bar. And without the Infinity Saga, you see that. So, and with DC just has been an erratic, inconsistent program. Yes, check out my channel so I can retire in like 1,000 years. No, I'm just kidding. There it is, youtube.com/@the-sci-fi-center.com. All right, question between Superman Legacy, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. What are you more excited about, and what movie are you expecting more from in terms of comic book fans? Supergirl, World of Tomorrow, or Woman of Tomorrow. It's an excellent miniseries. It's great Tom King work. So, Superman, I am curious about Superman, but I think that Superman is going to have a hard time. It has an uphill battle, simply because every time you do a new iteration of Superman, it does, and that's why I would, if it me personally, I would have got as much mileage out of Cavill as possible before we made this move, but he went his own way, and now he's gonna have to deal with that. He's gonna have to deal with the fact that that like he's directing it now, which is in writing it, which I always said he would. But that's just a lot of pressure. There's a lot of weight going on another iteration of Superman, especially when you have the Ghost of Cavill out there, because Cavill was still physically able to play the role. So you don't necessarily get the benefit of the doubt with a new Superman this time around. William, I hope you can make that. I really do. Like I said, it's short notice. If I can logistically put it together, I would like to be there, especially being this close to Vegas. Happy St. Petros, the San Pedro said. The shout out to John Riley and St. Patrick Battalion, who fought alongside Mexico in the American Mexican-American War. A lot of folks don't know why St. Patrick's Day is celebrated. I thought it was because he chased snakes and stuff out of cathedral. I'm just kidding. I definitely didn't know that. Thank you for sharing it. Also, how much of a fall from grace for is it for Joss Whedon to go from Avengers to being unveiled as such a complete scumbag? That's just a story. Yeah, it is unfortunate because I didn't know any of this was going on until once Justice League happened and then the whole Ray Fisher thing happened, and then you start hearing people from Buffy come out. And these were all successes. And it's like, except for Justice League, but Buffy was a mitigating success. I didn't know what was going on behind there. And still, Charisma Carpenter and all these other people and this guy who played Spike started coming out and saying, this guy, isn't what he seems. We have Comcast, it's hit or miss as well. Need routers everywhere. Yeah, it's just, wow. Question, if some of these standalone superheroes are slowly setting up Kingdom Come down the road, if they don't bring Henry back as Superman, who would your replacement be? Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm not ready to think about that yet. I know my Batman would be John Hamm, but as far as my Superman, I'm going to need some time on that one. It's the interesting history there. Once again, it's not even a debunker. You're judging some, like I just told you, shit changes. All right, minds change. Situations dictate, completely different things. Who knows if James Gunn is even going to be there by the time Affleck changes his mind? What if the stockholders and the people who actually run the show decide, we're not making a big enough return on our investment. We want to change. So he just said, I wouldn't direct something for James Gunn. So what if James Gunn is gone? You don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, taking people's word today as gospel, that's fine. But only a fool says never. And only a dumber fool believes them. And I'm not calling you a fool, of course, but I don't give a shit about what people say in these articles today, because stuff changes. I just gave you a complete example of how I could end up in Oklahoma if the situation changed. But right now, other than that, I wouldn't be leaving Vegas. It's just, whatever happened. Got my tickets to see John Wick 4. Next Dolby Cinema, pumped. Yeah, I sent a bunch of people to see that on Tuesday. I didn't get a chance to go, though. I don't know if I can live in the Midwest or Central America either. I want to be close to the coast and get there within a reasonable amount of time, 1 to 2 hour flight. Yeah, I'm a West Coast person myself, and I'm actually a greater Los Angeles person. So my goal is to get back there. I just feel like Affleck doesn't want to do a vision that wasn't what he signed up. And like I said, he may be right as far as like being, working for Gunn. But like I said, situations change. 10-year plan. The first 4 years of the plan have to be successful for there to be another 6. So who knows? Also, access different amenities and social, commercial, travel infrastructure barriers. Me too. I am city folk. I explained to you guys before. I am city folk. I'm living in Vegas, which is I'm here on business. How about that? Question: what do you think Disney and Universal trade fair value where they can compensate each other if Marvel takes full rights of the theme parks and aspect of Marvel? That'll never happen. I don't think either want that to happen. I think they're both okay with the financial aspects of what they have now. Marvel, Disney makes a lot of money off of the things that Universal does for them without having to pay the overhead for it. So, how you doing, Integrity? Who knows, man? Who knows? To be honest, I wasn't that thrilled with Batman flick being reworked into the Brave of the Bold. More holding out for the Snyderverse and Elseworld story, so cheering for that. Yeah, and that's another thing. Here's the thing about James Gunn being in charge of DC, and this is nothing against about James Gunn. There are going to be people who just his style just does not work with. His vision may not work with. But if I'm Warner Brothers, I have an Academy Award winning filmmaker. I have several people at my disposal that might want to make a superhero movie. So if Ben Affleck or Del Toro or Spielberg, and I'm just throwing names out there, people that are top tier, if they say, you know what, I woke up inspired and I want to do this, people be like, "Oh, you can't have somebody competing with that." But if I'm Zaslav and I got Spielberg sitting across me, if I have Ben Affleck sitting across me, if I have Del Toro, like 5 different Academy Awards total. if I have if I have top tier saying, here's my plan for this, am I going to say no to them and let them go to other studios? To me, that's where Elseworlds could be your biggest advantage. Biggest advantage you could have is you could give a Spielberg something, you could give a Del Toro something, you could give a Ben Affleck something. All right, you can give a Jordan Peele something. I mean, I'm just throwing names out there of people that might want to work with you and might want to work with these IPs, but may not want to work within the confines of what James Gunn or anybody else who's running a singular universe could do. Now, you all know that I am a champion of the shared universe, but I am also a champion of other opportunities as well. I don't mind having another Batman. How many people were confused? There was a lot of people that were confused. I'll take that back with the whole Robert Pattinson thing, but that's because DC did a poor job of explaining that because they didn't want you to think about Ben Affleck's Batman because they didn't want to think about their fuck ups. But if you had marketed that well, you could have gotten away with it. You put out another Batman, you're going to be putting out Batman while Brave and the Bold is on. You think people are going to, you're going to have to explain that. You can't take you can only take your customer for a big as fool as you allow them to be. If you are not explaining things, of course, that's going to end up being a situation. But you're going to have situations where these big name guys are going to be like, I got a storyline, here's a script. I got a mantle full of Academy Awards. I can draw just on my name alone. And are you going to say no to them just because you're afraid some dummies might be confused of Batman? No. All right. Now, that is why you have an Elseworlds. That is why you have alternate universes. All right. And if you do them drastically different from one another, people will know the difference between the Batman that's part of a shared universe and a Batman that's part of a single universe and so on, as long as you do your job as the producer, director, and studio and make it so that they know that. All right. If your customer is a dummy, that's because you're a dummy. All right. If you can't educate your fans and your audience and lead them to where they need to go in order for you to maximize your revenue, then you're a fool. Don't blame the fan on that one. And like I said, Kang Dynasty, all these things are about to come out. Secret Wars. Kevin Feige will find a way to explain that to people. And that's way more confusing than an Elseworld situation would be with DC. Now, I'm not saying those Marvel Phase 5 movies will be any good, but you'll know what's going on at least. All right, let's see. Anthony glasses up. James Gunn hurt himself. Yeah, he needs to. I think he needs to back away. I think he needs to have a centralized outlet to where he can answer the questions. You can be watching Twitter, you can be watching Facebook, you can be watching all these things, you can be watching these scoopers, take notes, and then every Wednesday, whack, bam, hit him with the truth, hit him with your truth. And that gives you time to refine what you want to say. That gives you time to not be going at it with individual, guys like that. Because like I said, some of these guys are going to ask dumb trap questions just to do stuff. And, it doesn't, I also think you should be doing videos. If he does it on a platform like YouTube, see, when we're reading something on a screen, the context is not there. When he's talking to you on one of these screens, or talking to you, not typing, the context is there. The tone is there. So yeah, I think I love the fact that we have somebody who's engaging with us and not lying to you and hiding stuff from you and dodging you like the previous guys were. But at the same time, I think there's a line, in my opinion, that I don't think is a good look sometimes to individually, give out too much information. Because here's another thing. What he says 2 weeks ago might not be necessarily what is the situation this week or next week. Things change. And sometimes when you put things out there on Twitter and all that, people are like, well, you said 2 weeks ago, even though, like I said, the adults in the room will understand the circumstances have changed. So as a situation, but they'll quote tweet and they'll do all this other dumb stuff. I think you should just get out of that business and just on a weekly basis, do an address, do like a press conference. And, if you have questions that you see on Twitter that you want to answer, you can gather them up and come up with the best answer and give yourself time. But yeah, I think he is hurting himself in this situation. How you doing, Sneeze? Yep, please support me. How you doing? I love Me Too, but like I said, it's just it's a wild time to be a comic book fan, guys. It's a wild time. I pick your nose to show the chat. You love us. No. Even with my allergies, I you see me doing this a lot, but I don't, I don't go up in there. I think I would lose viewers. I think I would have to go Avatar only on that one. I'm glad I could just keep my nose from stopping. It was still dry the last week. My nose would be bleeding like right in the middle of the streams, and I would have to go on Avatar. So it sucks. All right, William's line is blowing the fuck up. Yeah, I can hear something's texting. Okay, that's something else. Good news. I heard a possibility of JSA being continued. I'm going to go 55% on that one. And one of the reasons is they currently exist, and that gives you time to not necessarily use the Justice League immediately. And if you saw some, like I said, I don't want to go into it because, like I said, I know a lot of you haven't seen Shazam. But I think it's a good possibility. Yes, the incompetence was unreal. No, they shouldn't do a shared universe. Now they should do 3 to 4 part volumes, all popular. They don't have that kind of time, dude. They don't have that kind of time. And a shared universe is what generates the revenue. Even if they did 3-part volumes, it's still going to be shared. But the frequency of volumes, unfortunately, is not what stockholders want to hear. Like I said, it's great that the Batman made $770 million, which is less than DBBS. But hey, it's great that the Joker made $1 billion. But its frequency and volume of this money has to come in to justify these projects even happening. So you could do 3 to 5 volumes and stuff like that, but you're going to have that shared universe to generate the revenue to even make that a possibility. I also don't know one person okay with starting over. People want to. I know a lot of people that are not okay with starting over, and a lot of people who held out a long time to get an ending to the story, but now they're getting not only they're not going to get that, depending on how these movies lined up. Who knows what we're going to get after that. I hope that the movie, the Flash makes and the Aquaman makes so much money that it proves that what you have can work if it's managed properly, and we get some type of integration from there. So let's see. Yeah, like I said, we can have the silos in the Elseworlds as long as we have the shared universe. Because, like I said, they're going to have the shared universe because that's what generates the money. But like I said, I'm okay with Elseworlds. That's why when Ben Affleck says no today, yeah, that's no to directing something for James Gunn. But if I'm Zaslav and I tell him, hey, dude, let me see your script. Read that script and be like, this is your thing. Spielberg comes in and says, Spielberg wants to do a Krypton. I mean, like I said, these guys have earned the credibility. And as much as I like and believe in James Gunn doesn't have Spielberg credibility. James Gunn doesn't have Del Toro credibility. All right. James Gunn doesn't have Jordan Peele credibility. He's a great filmmaker and a great storyteller, but there's not enough there for a studio head or a stockholder to say no to these other guys if they come up with stories that don't go with that shared universe. That's all I'm saying. All right. Yeah, so I do agree with you there, Fourth. So I probably agree with you more than I disagree with you there. All right, Batman Begins changed the superhero genre for the better. Avengers 2012 did the opposite, the silly jokes and one-liners to this point. All right, I think Avengers 2012 is one of the best comic book movies ever made, and I hate Batman Begins, to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of Christian Bale's Batman. I'm a big fan of Heath Ledger's Joker, but if I could, the only parts that I even watch of that trilogy now are the scenes that Joker's in. I don't like Kristen Bell as Batman. I think Kristen Bell is a tremendous actor, but I do not like him as Batman. I don't like I don't like any of that. The story in Batman Begins was boring to me. I wasn't a fan of it. And The Dark Knight Rises wasn't a very good movie in my opinion. And to be quite honest with you, The Dark Knight itself, once again, you take Heath Ledger out of that, and it's just basically The Dark Knight Begins, but a little bit, or Batman Begins, but a little bit slower and with a little bit more money. All right, Fourth, I see you, everyone. I don't see why not. Question: do you think the reason why Jack Crusher is having the issue that he's having is because his dad being an ex-Borg and that he's inherited something? That's a possibility. That's a good possibility. because he still had nanoprobes in him by the time that him and Crusher would have got together. And that would make sense because he's a biomechanical thing, which is closer to what lore and he would technically not be a solid. I mean, it's dude, this Star Trek Picard this season is excellent. It is excellent. It is gripping. Every episode, I don't want the episode to end. It is doing things that Star Trek The Next Generation could not do because of the time it was released in. And for everybody who's by the way, you can like Star Trek Picard without shitting on Star Trek Discovery. It's possible. If you have more than one brain cell, it's possible to compliment Picard. I see so many people bashing. This is what Star Trek's supposed to be like. Or Strange New World is the gold standard. We don't need Discovery anymore. Discovery is it's an abomination. I'm like, you don't have Strange New Worlds without Discovery. All right. The old Trek fan doesn't like to admit it, but math never lies. Discovery was a success, period. You may not like Discovery, but you cannot deny they don't spend the type of money that they spend on a spinoff without the original being a success. Now, it's ending because, once again, with Paramount and Viacom merging and downsizing, you can't have, like you could on the network days, 3 or 4 Star Trek series running at once because they're very expensive to make. Half a season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds is more expensive than the entirety of any given season of Next Generation. We're just in a different time right now. So Aaron, this is I hope you're enjoying it as much as I do. We could do it. Like I said, you could stagger these movies. All right, let's see if we can get down. Man, you can get a fat ass house in Vegas right now. Super tempting. Yeah, I meant to get back with you. I'm sorry about your questions, but yeah, you can still get a pretty decent house. It's the housing has gone up here a little bit after the market kind of died down, but it's starting to go back up again. It's not going to be California. And I know as much as I like living here in Vegas. I know a lot of people find it cheaper to be here. To me, it's just not LA. It's not Southern California. The proximity of being in one of the second largest city in the nation, the 5th largest economy in the world, it's just, something is attractive to that. And that's why the housing is so expensive out there. Plungers Lounge William, I have a question. How can DC Studios in the future still continue the Elseworlds stories if James Gunn is doing it? Just like I explained. There are going to be things that that a studio and a company is not going to be able to turn down that they're going to do if they want to get talent and keep talent, especially after the previous regime screwed everybody and how you have other guys leaving Warner Brothers. If you get the opportunity as somebody like really big, I'm talking about Academy Award level. Their movies make a lot of money just on name alone level. If you get a chance to get them, a lot of times those guys will come to the condition of, this is what I want to do, and I want freedom to do it. All right, and in order to build the credibility of your studio and build the attractiveness of your studio, you need to get this type of talent on board. And if they want to do something that's a comic book IP, David Zaslav is going to have the authority to say, yeah, he's going to have that authority over James Gunn. And it'll be an Elseworlds. If they say, you know what, I have this story, and I know you guys are doing it after that, but this is an Elseworlds. And what they need to do right now, is they should have been doing this already, is branding Elseworlds so that you don't have to do all the explaining of Elseworlds when an Elseworlds movie comes out. You should be branding Elseworlds now. You should be giving cryptic, and you should have a logo, which Elseworlds does have a logo already established. You should have an Elseworlds logo that's always on something. You should be putting that Elseworlds on the Batman. You should be putting that Elseworlds on the Joker. When we see the Joker come out, when we see a trailer for the Joker, or when we finally get in pre-production of it, that Elseworlds logo should be the first thing you see. We should have people conditioning to what Elseworlds is before an Elseworlds movie is even announced beyond Batman, the Joker. And like I said, Gunn could go his direction, but you cannot tell me that the studio the actual studio, Warner Brothers, and the people who finance this stuff, and the people who have the money in the stock, and the president of the board is going to turn down a Steven Spielberg level director if they come to them with something that doesn't fit in that universe. It's not going to happen. They're not going to let that person take that IP to Netflix or somewhere else if it's something that they think they can make off money with there. And just because Gunn is doing his thing, once again, James Gunn's not Steven Spielberg. James Gunn's not Benicio or Del Toro. I mean, James Gunn's not Jordan Peele. There are a lot of hot directors out there that may be scared away from Marvel or DC because they think they're going to have to compromise what makes them to do a superhero movie. And if Warner Brothers can offer an opportunity to do that superhero movie without compromising it, business is going to be done. I mean, give me Harvey. Don't tempt me. Be roommates. I clean and stay clean as a hermit that lives in a house. And I love plants. There you go. So, Nees, if your time limit bills and can't commit to a cleaning schedule, you're already better than housemate than what I had so far. Ooh, ouch. They do all right, but remember, Del Toro, you're or Denny Villeneuve, by the way, Denny Villeneuve, with doing everything else, or those guys. His movies do all right. I mean, Hellboy was a little expensive, more than the budget justified, but his movies do. Let's see. Let's look at he also, for the most part, like I said, because the guy just won another Academy Award. He's won Academy Awards on 2 different mediums. There's not that many directors that can do that. I don't think there's very many that do that. There might be. Let's see. Let's Guillermo del Toro. All right, let's see with some of his movies. I mean, a lot of his stuff is cheap to make too. But I know some of his movies. But like I said, a lot of it is going to be. All right, so filmography. So let's look at Pinocchio was on Netflix, so that doesn't count. Nightmare Alley. I know Nightmare Alley did make a lot of money, but once again, it got nominated for Academy Awards, and that means a lot to studios. That means a lot. They wouldn't turn him down. Let's see what else he's done. Like I said, it got multiple Academy Awards. Shape of Water won him his Best Director a nod. It won for Best Movie, and they made that for $20 million, and they made $195 million. So, he's done wow. So he did Crimson Peak, Peak, $55 million, brought in $74 million. Not a high budget. Pan's Labyrinth was a foreign film that was Academy Award nominated. Pacific Rim was huge. They doubled their money. So he does enough. Not only does he do enough profitability-wise for it, he gets Academy Award nominations and wins. That's big for a studio. Remember, Blade Runner lost money for Warner Brothers, but they were so proud of those 2 Academy Awards that they got from it. They were not ashamed to pimp that movie out for your consideration. He's creative freedom to want to tell their own stories. Those studios are not going to be able to turn those away. Right now, with Warner Brothers losing all those assets over the years with bad management, they are not going to be able to afford to turn away guys like that. GDT is overdue for at least another one, a mainline one. Yeah. Maintain my lawn and garden. Damn, what's going on here? Blade 1998 saved and brought back comic book movies back to be taken seriously. X-Men 2000 gave a team-up comic book movie film. Spider-Man 2002, Fantastical Side, and Batman Begins yet again saved. Like I said, you're not wrong for loving Batman Begins. I don't like the movie. I think X-Men 2000 was the one that did it more than anything. Because Blade was an obscure character that a lot of the general audience didn't know. X-Men was up there too, but a lot of people knew the X-Men. But even then, the X-Men was a much more spectacular comic book type movie. It showed that you could make these comic book type movies in that manner without, So yeah, all those movies were benchmarks. Let's see. William, how do you, as a comic book fan, give the Hulk back his spine and balls when Disney finally is able to get the rights for the Hulk? Well, Disney's the one who took away his spine and balls. It was in these Avengers movies that he became a puss. So, how does the personality of Namor change in the MCU when Disney gets his right? Disney produced that film. That's their Namor. Even though they don't have the rights to do a solo Namor film, that is still a Disney written Namor. Just like Spider-Man belongs to Sony, but it was Disney were the ones writing those particular movies. So the Namor you get is the same Namor you would get in the MCU because that's where he is now. Same thing with the Hulk. The pussified Hulk that you get is the MCU Hulk, is the Disney Hulk. So there you go. Yes, I would say no. Elseworlds or what worlds for the same character would dilute the brand? No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. You got to realize a lot of people didn't. There's going to be people who didn't see the Batman that would have seen a Ben Affleck Batman. There's going to be people who are who are always going to cling to a Man of Steel type Superman that are never going to give never going to care about James Gunn Superman. You have these characters that have been around 8 decades. You have to understand that you have different sensibilities and different tastes that are aimed at the same character. And if you want to stay in business, you have to stay greedy. And I don't think that would dilute it. Not at all. Shit, we've had the lousy Arrowverse out there for 9 years. I didn't. Granted, nobody watched it, but do you think it's a bad idea to give a lead actor your project, for example, Blade with Mahershala Ali, control of the writing the script when he has no experience with that? I don't know what experience he has, but once again, that Oscar, you guys don't realize that Oscar, in his case, multiple Oscars, gets you a lot of weight in a room. It gets you better contracts and it gets you a lot of that freedom because when you can announce that Academy Award winner so and so is in this movie, and they notice whenever there's Academy Award winner in there, that label's always there. Even if they've been nominated for one, they put that up there. That is big for movies. That is big for credibilities. Do you think Aaron Sorkin would ever do a superhero movie for either Marvel or DC? Maybe a showrunner? Never say never. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be. It's a new world. We need a filmmaker with the heart of Spielberg, grit of air, visuals of Stack, prestige of Affleck, innovation of Malik, Shazam. I would love to see that movie. I'm gonna try, dude. I'm gonna try. It's a short notice for me, and it's gonna be hard for me to budget, and it's probably a 60% chance that I can't. But I'm gonna try like hell, even if it's just one day. Question: Can the Justice Society of America work as your main continuity DCU ensemble team if Gunn decides to reboot Black Adam? I don't think he's gonna reboot Black Adam, but yeah, it could for a while. Because remember, where the JSA is, they are the mainline continuity. Where the JSA existed in the comics, there was no Justice League, and where the Justice League existed in the comics, there was no JSA. They were in two different worlds. Yes, continue to. Thank you, Rhea. Yep, there you go. YouTube.com/at the Sci-Fi Center. All right, shared universes feel like fool's errand now. Even Marvel movies are cut. You know what? No, shared universes are not a fool's errand. Bad movies in the shared universe are a fool's errand. If these movies were good, people go for them. I don't think that's a burnt out topic. I think you still have to put out enough good movies for people to give you the benefit of the doubt for your mediocre movies to float. You know? It's like when Marvel was putting out top tier movies, you could get away with a Captain Marvel. You got the opportunity to do a Guardians of the Galaxy, even though if those movies hadn't done well, then Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't even happen. But when you start getting, mediocre movies like Ant-Man, Quantumania, and things like that, that's when people start saying, "Oh, well, it's they're not cutting the mustard," but it's because they're not making good movies. But the shared universe is still the way to go, in my opinion. The business kind of early Howard Hughes, maybe fourth. All right, the way Marlon Brando would pronounce Krypton in Superman, the movie Planet Krypton. I'd like to see him do it in Don Corleone's voice. Nah. I mean, that's your opinion. I can completely respect your opinion, but I don't think so. I think the Nolan trilogy personally is overrated. That's just me. Question: if James Gunn decides to be Christian Bale, who do you want to play superhero villain in DC Universe? Or for me, I would like to see him play Zod. Brainiac, maybe. Brainiac. I need to see Brainiac at some point. Yeah, not the business sense of Howard Hugh, but not the weirdness. Oh shoot, I don't know. I do not know. I have not seen WonderCon come up on my radar yet. William, you probably covered this ad nauseum, but what do you think about Keaton returning? I have no feelings whatsoever. I'm a guy who moves forward. I don't do nostalgia. And I think in the entertainment business, and listen, I'm glad that all you guys who are peaking at him coming back. I'm happy for you. I don't think it hurts the movie at all. It wasn't what I was going to see the movie for. And this is somebody who that was my first Batman, my first major on-screen Batman. The 14-year-old me loved Michael Keaton, and Ninosh is right. Everybody had the T-shirts were everywhere, the toys were everywhere, the comics were doing well, everything was going fine. But I'm not 14 anymore. The world has changed, and what I expect from my Batman, the look and feel of my Batman is not what Tim Burton put down in 1989. I have had several Batman since then, and one in particular that I think was the perfect Batman for this era, and that's what I gravitate towards. Michael Keaton's Batman hasn't been on the screen for over 30 years, and just like I love Christopher Reeve's Superman, but I wouldn't watch that in 2023. The 6-year-old me at Man Shining Theater loved Christopher Reeve's Superman, and nothing against him. It's always going to have a place in my heart. Michael Keaton's Batman is always going to have a place in my heart, but it's in the past. And like I said, I just think I don't go. That's why I have a big problem with the way Star Wars is being ran. There's too many things that hang on to the past. And I always think that's dangerous to your creativity. Nostalgia, if used properly and infrequently, can be something that's really cool. But it becomes a safe place when you're afraid to tell new stories, in my opinion. So it doesn't hurt that he's here. But for me, Michael Keaton's Batman doesn't move the needle any further than it did back in 1989 or 1992, the last time he was actually on the screen. And I love Michael Keaton. It's just that, and for a while I was worried because we're hanging our hat on a Batman that most of your audience wasn't even alive for. So, but now that I've seen the trailers and I see how balanced the movie looked, I'm all in for it. So. Next weekend, WonderCon is next weekend. There's also been some discourse on Zach needing WG's blessing to do for SnyderCon 2. As someone who arranges and coordinates screenings a lot, can you share a bit how it works? Well, for a guy like me, I would have to get the license to show it. That's all I would have to do. The version, I think as a director, I think he has certain rights. I'm not sure what the specifics are. I think the DGA allows certain rights for him to be able to show his movie and show cuts of his movie. But outright, so say if it was me doing SnyderCon or whatever it is, or Full Circle, or if it was me doing SnyderCon and not Zach, it would just be a matter of me licensing it. You have intermediates that you go through the studio and you request permission and you pay to license it. So I could show all these movies at the Sci-Fi Center. I would just have to pay for what's called a public performance license. And I'm pretty sure that he's doing that in some way, but it's a lot easier for him because he made the movies that he's showing. And I think you just have certain legalities and rights afforded to you once you've done that. But otherwise, it's just a standard licensing agreement. About to sneeze. Yeah. Shit. Oof. I think I got another sneeze coming. Hopefully I don't. Allergies. Am I wrong for not believing that the story about Gunn and his dad at Superman release date? I think that you could probably look up Wikipedia and find out when his dad passed away. I'm not, I saw that, but I'm not. I don't think that's something he would lie about. Or are you saying that that he didn't remember the date when he made? You know what? Some people put those type of things out of my. That's not a very pleasant. The day that a loved one passes away is probably some people handle it differently. So I don't see any reason for him to fib about that. But who knows? What are your thoughts about these YouTube channels that are popping up claiming to be exposing John Campea for allegedly being a racist and other ridiculous accusations? I've seen no evidence that John Campea is a racist. I've seen no evidence that any of that is true. I can only go from what I've seen. Like I said, they're gonna pop up and say these things. Hope they need to have proof to substantiate that because he could sue them. But from just the forward leaning stuff that I've seen of him, I see no. I've never seen any racist tendencies from the show that I watch. He's had people come and go from his shows of all different genders, all different colors, all different sexual preferences. I think Taylor Gonzalez is on that show. I think he's gay. I've never seen anything demonstrated. I don't agree with him all the time, and sometimes I think he's way off the cliff. But I personally have never noticed or seen anything that would brand him as a racist. And whoever's going to say that, if you got evidence, you're going to have to bring it because, like I said, you got to understand that if you bring up something like that and you can't prove it, and it's not just an opinion, you're going to try to say that I have proof that and it's not solid proof. He could sue you, so be careful with that kind of stuff. You're within reason to feel skeptical. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know if people have any reason to fib about that, but one thing that's weird about Affleck thing is how much Gunn was emphasizing. We're talking to Affleck. He's an architect with us. He's interested in directing with us. Okay, let's say benefit of the doubt. When he said that, Ben Affleck, that could have been the situation. But in the interim time, he could be like, you know what? I thought about it. No, I wasn't in the room for the conversation. I wasn't in the room with the frame of thought. What was going on there. He may have very well had a talk. He may have well had who knows. I mean, I don't see why Gunn would lie about something that somebody could easily disprove. I do believe that there was a conversation that was had. And I think at some point, Ben Affleck had made a decision, paid beyond that, said, no, I don't want to do it. Doesn't mean he wasn't considering it at some point. All right. Beaches. Del Toro probably wishes he was Gunn these days. Not really, but sort of for Gunn's box office. No, not really. I mean, Gunn's box offices are hit or miss too. I mean, that doesn't mean that he's not a talented storyteller, but Del Toro has multiple Oscars in that prestige. Gunn is running a studio, so they're both high up there. But I don't think either one wishes to be the other. I think they're both happy with where they're at. Yeah, he has 2 Oscars, and he's done it with animation or whatever, when you consider Pinocchio, and then he did it with Shape of Water, which was a very odd movie. Movies like that don't win Academy Award. He won one. What did he just won for Pinocchio. Fourth. William, what are your thoughts on the stuff that Twitter from comic book fans that labeled MCU and the MCU? That's just dumb, dude. I mean, once again, we go back to this. As soon as a certain type, is not represented as much as they think they should be, and someone else is, they assail that group. And I think it's not the majority of us. The majority of us are not, thinking that way. But you got the loud minority, and I think that's stupid. The money backers. Here's the thing, though. When you talk about when you bring forth a guy, like somebody who's won multiple Academy Awards, that brings credibility to the box office, and it helps those guys. Like, okay, Denny Villeneuve didn't make a lot of money on his movies, but his movies were high quality movies. All right, and even though Blade Runner didn't do well at the box office, people recognized it as a high quality movie. And then you had Dune, which even though it didn't draw $1 billion or whatever, Dune drew a hell of a lot more money than I ever thought Dune would. Dune is a complex, big IP that it takes a lot of mind power to get around, and he made that profitable. Even if it wasn't by a lot, he made that big, giant, confusing film and that IP possible and plausible and enough to where even with people watching it on HBO Max, it was able to pull in a decent amount more than I thought it would. I thought Doom was going to crash, but it didn't. And now you have Dune 2 coming out, which won't be day and day release. So sometimes it's just the credibility of the movie and the stature that you're in. Because Michael Bay makes a lot of money for people, but people don't put Michael Bay in certain levels as like a Del Toro. He gives you the action, he gives you the money, he gives you the explosions, but he doesn't give you the deep thought out, introspective type movies that Spielberg or a Jordan Peele might do. That's why Edward Norton was fired. He wanted to be more serious Hulk in the Avengers movies, but Feige and Disney said, "Oh, glad he walked. The character has been horrible." Yeah, he's kind of been defanged. How you doing, Daniel? I have more questions of why Willow was greenlit for one season than I do the fact that it was canceled for another season. Just making sure my nose isn't bleeding because I don't want blood on you, not to scream. It sounded like a good idea at first, but once again, Willow is a 34-year-old IP that hasn't been relevant in 30 years. That's to me, I'm going back to the whole Michael Keaton thing. Michael Keaton is a little bit different because he played Batman. But Willow, I mean, there hasn't been anything to keep the momentum of that IP going. And like I said, you're releasing Willow at a time where there's a lot more out there to tell that type of genre and that type of storyline. And that actually do it better, to be honest with you. When Willow came out in, I think, 1988, it was a different world. It was groundbreaking, but it's not groundbreaking right now, and it's fighting for the attention of people who have better stuff to go to. So I'm surprised that idea made it out of the cutting room. I'm more surprised that somebody approved it than I am the fact that it only got one season. Tonsils are starting to dry out. Let's see. Ooh, where are we at? An hour and 7 minutes. So got about 17 more minutes to go. William, you want DC Candle to burn twice as bright with multiple Batman? Yeah. If you give me two distinct Batman, like the Batman I read in DC Black Label versus the Batman I read in Detective Comics, if you give me two drastic differently atmospheres, then I'm for it. Now, if you give me two of the same and I can't tell a difference, and I'm like, well, this looks like that. No, but if you give me a totally different circumstance, in a totally different world, with totally different tone, and from one movie to another, I'm down for it, and I think it would make money. Now, I wouldn't release them like the same year, like 2024. I wouldn't release two Batman movies. I would stagger them. I would stagger them every other year or 2 years. Because you give yourself a good chance of the people who are on this side and like this tone, while they're waiting for that next movie, they're like, you know what? That's not my deal. That's not what I'm into. But you know what? It's on HBO Max. Let me watch it. It is Batman, and you never know. You could cross pollinate. So I think you could do it well. And Batman makes money. Period. Versions of Batman don't lose money. Versions of Batman, you're talking at least 500, 400, 500 million right out of the door, depending on how much you spend. Now, depending on how good it is, will determine how much above, 400 or 500 million. Like the Batman was a good movie. Right out of the gate, you were going to get 400 to 500. That extra 270 million was because it was a good movie. Batman versus Superman. I mean, those things like that. Don't aim for the billion, but aim for that baseline and then see what you can do and build on that one. So, no, I think multiple Batman would be just fine. Have we already covered gun lying about Affleck rating direct? Yeah, we've already covered that. I think that was a conversation that they had. I don't know when that conversation took place. And I'm not a big gun defender as far as what kind of private conversation he had. But I've been in conversations with people, and within 3 or 4 weeks, if not less, they've changed their mind or something happens, and it goes from there. So, and yeah, I'm really loving the Star Trek. It's been a Trekkie since I was a little kid, and I'll still be one. Yeah, I love all Trek. I'm not as big a fan as like Lower Decks, things like that. But I watch it every now and then, and I love Lower Decks for one thing. It just gives people who are of that mindset in Trek, it gives them something to watch. Even if I don't watch it. All right, William, to give me a harpy, I will pour a little bit of drink for you. The homies aren't there. Yeah, pour Mountain Dew or water for me because I don't drink liquor. So. But I'm gonna try to be there. I'm gonna try to be there. What time was the Nerd Queen stream on Sunday with that? I don't know. I heard about it today. I know it's on Sunday though. I will probably be watching it because, like I said, that's where all the information is going to be put out, and that's probably with the information I get from them when I watch that stream might determine whether I can go or not. So who knows? You guys are lucky to be out there on the West Coast. I'm on the West Coast pretty much. I'm in Vegas, and it still might be a lot of it is leaving the store on a weekend. That's tough. The weekends are where we pull in the majority of our revenue. So just getting on a plane and going to spend money when I should be here making money, I'll have to justify that to myself. It is definitely better Midwest. I'm not going to make fun of the Midwest, even though I told you guys. The only time I've ever been to the Midwest is when the Army sends me there, and the Army doesn't send you to the most beautiful places in any area. So there you go. I'm old enough to remember Adam West being pissed at Michael Keaton's cast. I remember that. But in hindsight, it was kind of ridiculous because they would never. They were trying to shed the campy image of Batman. Him being Batman would have never flew. Question: Can you explain the unmitigated failure that was the Batman and Robin movie by Tim Burton with Chris O'Donnell and George Clooney? That wasn't Tim Burton. That was Joel Schumacher, and it wasn't a very good movie. Because the one that came before that, which is Batman Forever, was one of my favorite Batman movies. I love Batman Forever. But no, that's a George Schumacher movie. So no, the movie just wasn't very good. How you doing, Chappie? Damn it, late again. Hi, William. How are you doing? Just say Shazam 2. And I said the same. I just saw same thing to Max. The critics are on something for the score they gave. It's a story. It was a solid 8 out of 10. I have not read the critics' reviews yet. I have my IMDb thing pulled up so that I can get in there and give mine. In my and if I decide to go, yeah, I mean, I don't. I would be interested to see what the audience score is, but I mean, the first time they loved Shazam, but I hear a lot of people saying that the first one was better. I think this one's slightly better, but I like both of them. So, but once again, a lot of it is just the situation that's been released in. You need to get to Cali, William. It will be missing. I don't know. I asked him if he was going. He hadn't got back to me. It's going to be hard. Even the Nerd Queens aren't going to be there. One of them lives in Europe, and the other one lives, I think, in New Jersey or something like that. So even the people putting it on won't be there. That's how tough this is to get to. To say you're Anton Fuqua, yeah. By the way, what's the difference between a comic book or a graphic novel? All right, a comic book is something that is generally released on a monthly basis. It consists of 32 pages, between 25 and 32 pages. It is generally part of a series, although it can be a one shot, but most comic books are part of a series. They come out in issues. A graphic novel is usually in a book form or square bound form. Now, it can also be released on a monthly basis, but it's in a different format. A lot of those go minimum 32 to 48 pages. The quality of the pages is generally higher end, the gloss finish. Like the gloss finish that came the graphic novels was something that came in before the comics started doing them. Prior, like in the 80s and 90s, comic books had what was called newsprint, and they just had those killing. They get they get yellowed out. Most comics today have the shiny gloss paper, and that's why the price has gone up for a little bit. But graphic novels generally have always had that. Graphic novels. Now, there's two different types of graphic novels. There's graphic novel series like Batman, Harley Quinn, or Batman, the Three Jokers is a graphic novel series. It's in a comic book form, but it's in a square bound small book form, and that's what a graphic novel is. Now, there are standalone graphic novels because when the term graphic novel first came out, it usually meant that format in a standalone thing. And sometimes they were huge. Marvel would make theirs magazine styles with the square bound. The example is Marvel graphic novel number 1 was the Death of Captain Marvel. It was a standalone comic. The story was completely contained in there, and that was it. Marvel graphic novel number 4 was the first appearance of the New Mutants, and that was a self-contained story that led into their own series. And you had Alien Legion, you had all those things that were maxi series and things like that. But generally, the difference between a comic book is a standard small magazine format. A graphic novel is a square-bound, more of a bookshelf. And you used to call them, before everything was called graphic novels, it was called bookshelf format. So that's your difference. I wish I was at the store because it would take me 2 seconds to show you the visual representation of it. But that's as best as I can explain it at 1 o'clock in the morning. William, did Troma ever release any video games? Max was showing gameplay of Troma characters, but the game looked like a teen. I saw that on their Twitter site today, and I think Lloyd sent me an email with that in it. I have to look at that, but I do think it was Toxic Avenger was running around on the screen. I have to look. It's on their Instagram and it's on their Twitter page. And if there is one, Tromania, which is now happening on May 12th and May 13th with Lloyd Kaufman in attendance, we're going to have that thing. If there's a video game in existence, trust me, we're going to have it on our giant screen. All right. And those post credits were very good. And I hope to God the second post credits lead to a third movie and maybe get some Black Adam in the third. Hell, even Superman. I don't care. Warner Brothers Discovery do it. Don't want to go into the post credit scenes because, like I said, depending on. It gives you a little bit of insight to what he's thinking as far as gun goes, because he had control over the post credits as far as them being. I know they were filmed before his regime, but he still had control of whether they were still left in the movie because these movies lead into his movies. And I think if he's doing it right, when he's doing this realignment thing, he's going to be keeping certain things and not keeping certain others. So. The Roger Chapman talk box voice. California knows how to party. We keep it rocking. It's going down to SnyderCon this year. Yeah, I really hope I can be there. Also, I can't forget the most important thing. Hi, Rhea. Yep, hi, Rhea. Question: what are your thoughts about Guillermo del Toro's? I loved it. I love it. It was very deserving of its Academy Award. I really loved it. Any hostels out there near Pasadena? The Oscars are supposed to give a boost to films that not everybody saw, a second win, but it's these days it doesn't help. It doesn't help for certain people. Like if you were an unknown nobody to begin with, like Chloe Zhao movies are gonna make what they make. Their Human Interest and Eternals and all that didn't give her a boost. But a Del Toro, oh yeah, it helps. It helps. It just brings a certain prestige to your movie. A lot of times it helps your movie even get made. If I'm trying to get money to finance a movie, and the first thing they're going to know is who's writing the screenplay, who's directing it. If I say it's William directing it, you ain't getting anything. If I say it's 2-time Academy Award winner Guillermo del Toro, then now we're talking. If I say it's Spielberg, now we're talking. If I say it's Lucas, okay, they're going to give you the money. Even Zack Snyder. I mean, he hasn't won Academy Awards, but he's been at that level. You see what I mean? So a lot of that helps. Yeah, it was hard for me to understand Dune when I watched it. Yeah, like I said, Denny's another guy. If Denny Villeneuve comes to DC and says, I want to do a certain IP, I know you're working with that, you think they're going to turn him down? They love that guy. They don't want to lose that guy to anywhere, especially the Zaslav regime, because remember, the Emmerich regime and the previous guys, when they released their movies day and day, they pissed off a lot of directors, even though that was probably the right business decision. A lot of directors were pissed off. So Zaslav is not going to want to do anything to where that guy's going to walk. And that guy makes high-level movies. Dune could be up for an Academy Award if it continues on. You think if he comes on and says, I want to do New Gods. Say Denis Villeneuve wants to do New Gods. They're gonna have to have a conversation, man. That all-star cast, yeah. Dune, and he got a lot out of those people, and people like working with him too. So, all right, can't wait to see Dune Part 2. Yep, October. I think Willow was canceled because it wasn't the same spirit as the original. It was modern casting. That could be Monkey Jeebus, but I there's a lot of people that I know that just never even saw the movie. Like I said, this new generation is as in the Harry Potter, is in the Game of Thrones, is into, video games, things like that. And how relevant is a movie that only had the one movie 32 years ago going to be in 2023? It's just tough, man. I mean, it could be because it didn't have the same spirit of the original, but does the same spirit of 1988 work in 2023? That's probably another thing too. So I don't think it should have ever been greenlit, but I'm stingy when it comes to greenlighting stuff. All right, I think that was Bob Chapek approving that, possibly. Although I think Willow might have been approved by Iger, but who knows? Retro game, Slayer. I definitely feel like Willow wasn't executed with respect to the legacy, lore, and bonus on generation. Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, what generation were you even marketing Willow to? You see what I mean? We're in a different world than we were in 1988. We didn't have a lot of that kind of high end fantasy back then. Now we do. I mean, we have more high end fantasy. I mean, hell, you got Dungeons and Dragons about to come out here pretty soon. I mean, you got Game of Thrones, you got Harry Potter, you got Fantastic Beasts. You got a lot of stuff that pretty much does what Willow does, but on a much more familiar basis that's closer to the generation that's actually spending the money on these things. So I don't know, man. Gen Z, I feel like the content created to fill in a D plus original shows and people attempt at a high fantasy post Rings of Power and House of the Dragon. That's true too. And once again, you mentioned two IPs that are really, really, really successful. With Tolkien and George R.R. Martin. That said, I love the show. Wanted more to support it, more of it. All right, I skipped watching the show. As soon as I saw the trailer, I knew it was going to be weak. Willow is a classic. All right, yeah, I thought Willow was all right, but I do hope for more fantasy-based movies and shows rather animated live action. Don't care. I just think we need Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings type stuff. Yeah, and you just have to resonate and connect with today's audience. I just don't think Willow did. Original Willow was so good, but wasn't an earth shaker in the fantasy. No, it wasn't really. And you only had the one movie. Warwick Davis's go. Leprechaun in the Hood, about to do no good. Do it right now. I want you to YouTube Leprechaun in the Hood rap song. You're going to fall off your ass laughing. It is the funniest thing I've ever seen. It saved that franchise after it went into space. Not only did they do Leprechaun in the Hood, they did Leprechaun, I think 5, Back to the Hood. They couldn't get enough. And there is a video at the end of that where he's singing that song. And he's, by the way, throughout the movie, Warwick Davis is rapping with Ice-T. He was already rhyming to begin with, but now he has a rapper, Ice-T, rapping. It was so funny. I can watch that forever. Oh, the Nerd Creek stream is 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Okay, cool. There you go, everybody. So save that time and date, and I will be watching that too. I may not watch it live, but I will watch it at some point. And like I said, what kind of information that they give me there, ticket prices and all that kind of stuff, and what's going to be on certain days. I might try to get down there for a day or two, or I might have to come down just for one day. That stream will determine whether I can even pull it off or not. Although we're getting Percy Jackson goodness, that's an upcoming show, really good cast, and the author of a book involved. Never been a big fan of those, but I know. I mean, that's because I'm not a Potterhead, and I'm not a who wrote Percy Jackson. Thade's in Texas, man. He coming out to Texas to run my store. I wish he would. That'd be cool. Yeah, Tim Burton's going to be executive producer of that entire run because those versions, even though people say they're different, they're not. Those versions of those characters and that Gotham, all that was created by him. Just like Zack Snyder's stuff is created by him. I think he's an executive producer on Batman and Robin. I don't think he actually, let's look. I don't think he was actually part of that because I think he left the franchise. Robin, see, Batman, Rob, wow, there's a lot that comes up. What was that, 1990, 1997? Oh, wow, this is a horrible movie. All right, Batman and Robin, and Bob Kane. It is the 4th and final installment of the Warner Brothers' initial Batman film series, so that's why he would be executive producer because he did the 2 original ones, produced by Peter McGregor Scott. So that was the direct producer. Um, wow, Akiva Goldsmith wrote that? Or Goldsmith wrote that? Wow, that's the person that's writing Star Trek right now. That's the person that's helping to write Picard. I don't see Tim Burton in the credits here for Batman and Robin. Wow, that movie didn't make very many money or very much money. So no, I don't see him here. But I guess he would be an executive producer because he created the universe in which those characters, that versions of those. All right, Tim Burton. All right, so it's combined. Yeah, it's combined Tim Burton and Joe Schumacher series, 1989, 1997. All right, so let's see. Batman Forever. Okay, so Batman Forever was produced, co-produced by Tim Burton and Peter McGregor Scott. But Batman and Robin, there is no credit for um, Tim Burton on that one. Yeah, Batman Forever was actually a good movie. It actually got its accolades. I think. See, Batman Forever was 1995. Okay. This is back when the movies, if you made 330 something odd millions, you actually did pretty good because your high end budget was 100 million. So it made $236 million in a profit. Um, let's see. It had a kick ass soundtrack too. Uh, yeah, it was the highest opening weekend for a superhero film until it was overtaken by X-Men in 2000. So it's actually pretty successful. So, all right, guys. Yeah, prestige. I mean, they were called different things. Like, okay, so the Killing Joke. Some people call the Killing Joke a prestige format one shot, right? While others call it a graphic novel. To me, it's all semantics. You know, the true original term of graphic novels, like I said, goes back to what Marvel was doing in the 80s with like at the ones examples I gave you, and plus like Epic Comics. All of Epic Comics were graphic novels, and they were in that big giant format. So all right, Shazam has a 55 critic score, which is bullshit, while the audience score is a solid 84. Once again, we've already proven that the detachment between there's a huge detachment between the critics and the audiences on certain movies. All right. Is it called Toxic Crusaders? Yeah, I saw. I've been busy all day, but I saw on Troma's Twitter page. I think it's Lloyd's Twitter page. Somebody's actually playing it, and it's Toxic Avengers running through there. Which is, like I said, I'm gonna make sure when he comes out here, we're gonna play that on the screen in between the movies. All right. Yeah, what we had is I gathered sponsors for these events, and one sponsor had to pull out for financial reasons, and so I had to add on another one. And while I was doing that, I had to push the event in order for me to be able to get a few more sponsors on board because it's a very expensive event to produce, but it's going to be fun. So yeah, I got a lot of time to plan, and we've added more stuff to Tromania too as a result of having more time. Choma should have a fighting game, Toxic Avengers versus Sergeant Kabuki Man. Oh, by the way, yeah, Sergeant Kabuki's going to be here too. Back in Vegas. I got it. Believe it or not, when Lloyd came out here last time, and we went to see a Return of Nukem High. Sergeant Kabuki was there, but Ron Jeremy was there, and I actually have a picture of me standing with Ron Jeremy before all this other stuff went down. Him getting arrested and just being near death or whatever. He was there because that was what was going on. So I'm gonna I would bring up that picture, but this was before Ron Jeremy was looked on and all this, this. But yeah, Ron Jeremy was there, Sergeant Kabuki was there, Lloyd Kaufman was there. There's a couple other people. There's a lot of porn stars there. Jeebus, that game looks sick. Yeah. Terminator, yeah, come on out to Vegas, man. Jalen, I totally give the movie 7 out of 10, but that's just maybe we watched. I gave it a solid 7 out of 10. That's what I gave the first Shazam. All right, Rayleigh's gonna be happy. Let's see. All right, did they cancel? Did they cancel the Willow series? I liked that series and was expecting that season. Sorry, I mean, it's not a lot. There's not enough people. Fun. Let's see. Dennis Villeneuve directed New Gods or Green Lantern would be insane. Yeah, and like I said, if somebody comes to you with an IP that's just currently being done in a drastically different way with James Gunn, do you say no to that Academy Award winner or that moneymaker and just let him go to some other studio? These studios pride themselves on being able to keep talent, especially with Warner Brothers. But prior to Tishihara and AT&T, Warner Brothers had a historical record of being the place directors wanted to come. They had that advantage over everybody. So they want to get back to that. And like I said, if somebody comes to you and says, I want to do this, you got to say no to them. I know fans will be like, oh, you can't do that. But fans don't run studios. Fans don't pay for anything. You know, in by hundreds of millions collectively they do, but they're not the ones that have to put the money in advance for all this stuff and take the risk. You think that a studio is not going to mitigate their risk and increase their odds of a movie making money and other people being attracted to your studio because you treated them that way? You think they're going to turn that away? I don't. Let's see. Yep, they canceled it. Let's skip down. Let's see. That would make him like 80. So he looks great, but damn, that's a lot. That's asking a lot. I mean, how old is Michael Keaton now? He's like 72, 73? Hey, Google, how old is Michael Keaton?
Years old.
So he's 71 years old, and let's see, Brave and the Bold comes out in what, 2 years? So he's 73. 73. That's a lot. I mean, if he stays the way he's looking right now, but I don't know if I want a 73-year-old mainline Batman. So who knows, man? Gotcha. Totally don't want to guilt you into going. Your business comes first. I do want to go though. It's not even a guilty. I really want to go. I really want to go, and I don't. The only chance I get to see most of these guys is on a screen as a viewer. And like in Ray, your case, I got to meet you in person. You know, I got to meet Dave the Film Junkie. I got to meet Silent Scotty because I live in a city. I'm fortunate I live in a city that is a vacation spot. So a lot of times they come out here and I'm able to, be able to meet. But I really, want to hang out and have an experience with these guys other than this TV, these screens, because I think a lot of our conversations and a lot of what we say to each other doesn't have the same weight as it is when you're sitting, at a bar or you're sitting in front of a movie screen or you're hanging out afterwards. It's a different type of camaraderie. And I learned that from the Army, is the fact that you could take people and put them in one environment and where there's a hard edge and there's a mission being done and things like that. But after everything is done in a different atmosphere, everything is different and you get to know people differently and probably better than you would just on watching each other on YouTube. I think after we all get together, a lot of these squabbles that end up happening on YouTube wouldn't happen because you'd be able to sit down and have conversations. You realize, hey, the guy I just got mad about on YouTube, I know that guy. He's not, let me text him or something like that. I think interpersonal things are very important. So I really want to make it down there if I can. All right, I heard Suge Knight wasn't happy about Willow rap and hung up Warren Davis over the balcony. Said no for 1,000 Vanilla Ice. Dude, Suge Knight used to be one of the most feared guys out here. Nowadays it's like, I think Dr. Dre changed all that because I think just there's a lot that went on in that whole gangster rap East Coast versus West Coast thing that really tore a lot of people away and a lot of people's valuable time. Like Eazy-E was only on this planet for 35 years, and like 4 or 5 of them were fighting between Dre and Suge Knight and all this other stuff with Death Row. So that's unfortunate. So let's see, Spotify. Check for Spotify for a new MC Leprechaun. Damien deleted scenes restored. VW restores the chronology. Two-Face escape. Oh, okay. We're talking about Batman Forever. Yeah, it's okay. It's late. He ghost produced it. You get the credit. Batman Forever was fine just as it was. I don't think that movie needs. Personally, I know a lot of people will want to see a different edit in it, but I love Batman Forever just as it was. That's just a personal thing. All right, let's see. Zero. I think he'd be a distraction. I think he'd be a distraction. I mean, even if he showed up to support, it would become about James Gunn. I don't even think he'd want to do that. This is about Zack Snyder, AFSAP, and celebrating the movies that brought us all together. I'm pretty sure he would be welcome there. I mean, but I don't know if he would show because then again he would be the topic, and I don't think he wants to. Most filmmakers, if it's somebody else's thing, they don't want to take the spotlight off of that. All right. Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff, and then the giant bat in the Batcave. But see that none of that stuff when I watched the movie as it came out, none of that stuff not being there, being honest with you, for me, took away from the movie. I think the version that was released is just fine. All right, how you doing, Tuna? All right, let's see. I'm gonna start skipping around because it's 1:35, so we're starting to get to I got about 8 more minutes. William, do you watch fan edits? This is when a fan alters an existing movie, usually by reinserting scenes that were deleted just to trim the runtime. Star Wars and Superman. I don't actually. I don't. Integrity. For the most part, unless the film is meddled with, the versions of the film, like BVS was meddled with, Justice League was meddled with, but like most times, any type of edit, I don't generally watch director's cuts because I believe that most of the stuff that was cut out of the movie was probably needed to be cut, no matter how great the director is. So I don't watch fan edits for that reason. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they're fun, but like I said, once a movie, most of my favorite directors, once their movies hits the screen, that's what the movie is supposed to be. I know Ridley Scott has cut up movies and stuff like that, but when you watch his director's cuts, the producers made the right decisions in most cases in cutting the stuff that he wanted left in. All right, guys, that is gonna be it. Are you going to do another show tomorrow? Or are you going to be taking a day off? But no, I am going to do my Star Trek show probably around 8 o'clock tomorrow, and then I'm going to be doing the overnight show. So yeah, that's going to. So I got 2 shows coming up at least, and depending on how um what kind of energy I have on Sunday or what kind of news comes out on Sunday, I may see you then. But right now, count on seeing me tomorrow at around 8ish to discuss Star Trek Picard, episode 5, for about an hour or so with Brian and Thade. And then we'll be doing our full overnight show on Saturday, the 18th at 9:30. So, all right, guys, thank you for being the best part of this semi overnighter. I hope I've filled the void and whatever emptiness was going on in all of our nights. And that's it. Thank you for your questions, your comments, and until next time, America.